Welcome, everyone, to the Unsolved Mysteries and Rewatch with Bryan McKenna. I'm your host, Bryan McKenna. It's good to be here with you guys. Just to give you guys a little bit of a background, this is probably the first time you guys are listening to this. I'm a professional comedian in New York City. I travel the country, been doing stand-up for the last bunch of years. I am a huge Unsolved Mysteries fan. I said it 3 times, so you have to believe me. I'm a huge Unsolved Mysteries fan. That's the 4th time. I watch all the old episodes. I look for things with an update. Still, every time I hear the word update, I still get a little excited. But I'm a huge fan of the new rebooted series on Netflix, and that's the one I'm going to be reviewing moving forward every single week that they come out with new episodes. So just to give you guys a little bit of an idea of how I'm going to do this, I'm going to do the new season, which comes out July 31st. I'm going to start with the new season, which is season 4. I'm going to start there and really review each one of those episodes as they are newer episodes. And then once this season 4 ends, then I will go back to season 1 and kind of start there. Today, all I'm really doing is I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a taste of how I'm going to do every episode. I am going to review season 1, episode 1. I'm going to do that one and kind of give you guys a rewatch, how I saw everything, things I found weird. Now, obviously, I am a comedian, so I don't want you guys to think that I'm going to be making fun of any of these cases. Not directly making fun of any of the cases. I will be indirectly making fun of what I can. I am just a huge fan. I do love theories, ideas, anything, so I'm hoping to be able to connect with you people and kind of do that. I think it would be fun to kind of do that. I don't see anyone else kind of doing podcasts like that, just about the Netflix Unsolved Mysteries. Maybe down the road, if you guys ever wanted, I would do the older episodes, the ones with Robert Stack. That is actually the name of this studio. I call it the Robert Stack Rewatch Studio. So that's what I have here. I'm super excited to do this one with you guys. I've had a lot of other failed podcasts, and I think mostly because I didn't care about this. Unsolved Mysteries I actually love. I literally watch old episodes just for fun. My wife will walk by and she'll be like, "Oh, what are you watching, your stories again?" And I'm like, "Damn right I am," because Robert Stack's voice still scares the shit out of me. Anyway, I have this case here. I'm going to do this one. I just rewatched it. I haven't watched it in a long time, obviously, since it kind of first came out. I just remember it being a rough one to kind of watch. But if you guys are watching this also on the video and not just listening, on the video, you're going to see my eyes darting left and right a lot. I have 2 screens. I have a bunch of stuff up. I have kind of podcast notes. I have, updates. I have a Reddit page that's currently open right now. Actually, I'm opening it as we speak. The reason why I have Reddit open is that there were a lot of unsolved mysteries, people, and communities that I kind of wanted to, touch upon, and some of the theories that some of these other people, said on Reddit, because some of them, make a lot of sense. So I figured this would be a good kind of place to be able to do that. So let me just pull up the case right here. Give me 1 second. Bear with me. First time doing this, so you guys are going to have to bear with me on it a little bit. Okay, so the first episode I'm going to review here, this is called Mystery on the Rooftop. This is the mysterious death of Ray Rivera. If you guys don't remember this case, Ray was an aspiring filmmaker, 32 years old, lived in Baltimore with his wife, Allison. He disappeared on May 16, 2006. Ray had received a phone call, rushed out of the house, and then disappeared. Let's start there. Let's start with kind of the discovery of him kind of leaving. He was staying at his house, and his wife's colleague was also staying at the house, which a lot of what we determine on this case comes from what she said on how he left. She said he received a phone call, took the phone call, said, "Oh," grabbed a few things, and then had run out of the house. And not necessarily ran, but he left kind of in a hurry. That was kind of the idea that most of you, especially you get while rewatching, is that he kind of left a little bit of kind of in a hurry. Here's the thing about that. This is what's weird to me about that particular thing. Even if someone was staying with me and I didn't really know them that well and I was leaving, if I had was going to just run it out of the house, if I thought I'd be coming back, I don't think I'd say anything. to them like, oh, I'll be back in a bit. But I think I still would say like goodbye. I'd say like, hey, I'm running out for a little bit. I'll be back in about an hour. Just to let them know, like, you're staying at my house. It's my house still. So, like, I would let you know that I'm coming back. Especially if I got a phone call that said, hey, you got to be somewhere. I'd be like, hey, by the way, I missed something. I have to go do this thing, and I'll be back. See you later. You know, I have my cell phone if you need me. Like, something along those lines. He just grabs his stuff and kind of leaves, which kind of, you have to assume, that's the problem with a lot of these cases, is that you end up assuming a lot of things. He leaves in a hurry. That's all we really know. We know that he grabs his stuff, grabs $20, and leaves in a hurry. I wish that you could still grab $20 and leave the house and not be broke. Like, $20 now. If you leave for $20, I'm like, you'll be stopping at the bank to get a little bit more. Or you better have your credit card on you, because there's nothing that just costs $20 these days. So he goes missing. His wife calls the colleague and says, hey, is Ray? And she said, oh, he's not here. He didn't come home last night. Allison wasn't home. Allison, his wife, was away as well. And then basically the colleague had left, which I also, did anyone else find that interesting? I found that interesting that the colleague stayed there for a little bit, then left, and then all of like the friends and family showed up after that. I don't know. I just feel like if I was there, I would have stayed a little bit longer to kind of go over anything if the police needed me. I'm not saying she was obvious. I'm not inferencing that she's involved, but it's just like strange. Like she was like, oh, yeah, she went back to New York. I'm like, has anyone talked to her since? I just kind of found that interesting. So Ray ends up going missing. And then they're obviously looking for him. 8 days go by, so just over a week. 8 days later, in an abandoned conference room, they find a hole, which is interesting, and we'll get to that. I jumped kind of here. The location. So essentially what happens is that they find his car in the downtown area. His father-in-law and mother-in-law, I believe, are the two people that find the car. They're looking around in that area. They end up kind of coming across his car in a parking lot with a ticket that's on it, which the ticket is obviously nobody wants a ticket on the car, but in this kind of instance, a ticket is a good thing because it gave us kind of a time frame on how long the car had been there. So it looks like it had gotten the ticket the night after. So it had been there at least from the 16th going in, so he had gotten the ticket on the 17th. He would have been annoyed with that ticket, by the way, had he returned to the car. But he had returned. He'd never returned to the car, but the point is that he got the ticket on the 17th when the parking garage attendant showed up and gave him the ticket for obviously not having any, I guess, whatever little ticket in the thing that says you're allowed to park there. So they gave him that ticket, right? So then after that, they find out that they're obviously searching the area because now they know the car is there, but they don't know where he is, right? So the car is there, and then he's not there, which is obviously strange. And in that car, they find nothing. There's nothing in that car. There's no evidence of a struggle. There's no broken windows. There's no anything that's missing. There's nothing in the car. Three friends who worked at his job start looking around that area, and they start looking around, searching the area. What they come across is that they find a hole overlooking the parking garage that looks like it's in the Belvedere Hotel. Like there's a hole on top of the roof. So they were like, oh, that's weird. There's a hole there. And then they get the manager of the hotel, who's also on the documentary on Netflix. They get the manager of the hotel, and the manager of the hotel basically finds the area where that is and opens the door, and he said there was a horrific smell. So basically they find Ray's body in a rarely used part of the Belvedere Hotel with the hole above. Some of the evidence that is found, the original thing that the three guys from Stansberry and Associates, I believe is the name of the place he worked, they see his cell phone and glasses that were found intact on the lower part of the roof near the hole, suggesting that he might have fallen through it. Let's stop there. Here's the thing. The inference is that he had jumped from the top of the Belvedere Hotel and went down through that small part of the roof and died, committing suicide. That's basically what they're saying. They're saying that this was a suicide. And I'm going to get to my theories at the end of this. I'm just trying to get everyone all the facts. But they're basically saying that this is a suicide. Here's why my immediate thing is that it's not a suicide. Right now, the cell phone and the glasses, not even broken at all. Now, here's the thing. It was one of those old, this is like in 2000, this is the early 2000s, so we got to remember those cell phones. It's not like our little cheap cell phones, iPhones now, that everyone has to have a case on, okay? It's not like that. These were those Nokia, tough, hard-nosed, they're like boomer cell phones. You know what I mean? Like, they're just people that went to war for you. That's the type of Nokia was unbelievable. Those cell phones you could have dropped off the Belvedere Hotel, and it would have still been able to play Snake when you picked it up. Those phones were incredible. I loved my Nokia phone. You could just change the face on it. That was unbelievable. You could play Snake. That was the heart. You could run that phone over with a car, and that thing was still going to be able to work. His phone is fine, right? Which I'm actually okay with. I'm like, yeah, that would have survived the drop, right? If he had jumped. The glasses, though. The glasses, there's no way those survive a fall. I'm wearing contacts right now, but I do wear glasses. And my glasses are like, you can't break them, right? But, you know, in 2006, they didn't have those. Those glasses, if you jumped off anywhere, if you jumped off a curb, your glasses would break. Okay, so that's why I don't believe that is absolute. There's no way that those made that jump. Is all I'm saying. That part makes no sense to me, because like those, both of those things would have to be broken, or they would at least be. If he was holding them and he jumped and he went through, he'd still be holding them. You would find him on the other side. You wouldn't find him. Did he toss him as he was falling? You know what I'm saying? And they weren't that far from the hole. That's the other interesting thing. They weren't that far. So it almost like if he was holding him and he jumped, he would have last minute would have thrown him, which doesn't typically, I mean, I wouldn't know. I've never done it. But like, I would think that you're falling. You're not thinking about throwing that stuff. Now, then I read a couple things online, on Reddit and stuff like that. Well, like, oh, he was probably falling and he was, throwing things. No, because it would have landed further away. They both landed essentially right next to the hole. So I don't believe that theory that he was holding those and jumped, right? I just don't. I think he might have been holding them, which I'll get to in a little bit, but I don't think he was holding them and jumped. Let me be clear about that. That's very weird to me, is those glasses not being broken, right? It almost, I mean, the police officer says it on the episode that he sort of looks like they're staged. It sort of looks like they were thrown there. You know what I mean? And I don't know if they're staged, which I'll get to, but I think that something's up with that, right? So the initial ruling by the Baltimore police was that it was ruled that his death was undetermined, because they didn't really have any evidence. They had a body of a guy who was 32, who had been there for a bunch of days, with a hole above him, but nothing else, The questions that were kind of raised throughout this were the distance between the hotel's main roof and the hole. Raised questions whether or not Ray jumped, fell, or was pushed. Okay, let's break it down. Let's get into it. Okay, could he have jumped from there, right? I mean, I'm not very good at math, and they did some math on this. They said it was about 40 feet, was about the very top part of the Belvedere Hotel, which is a very old building, right? So it's like that white, I live in New York, so I've seen a lot of these types of buildings, but it's that white thing on top. That's a little. No one's really supposed to be up there. There's all these air ducts and all this kind of crap. So that is something that needs to be. It's only 40 feet long, right? So they said he could have run and jumped. It is possible, mathematically speaking, according to Netflix. I don't know if anyone on the internet actually did it, but mathematically speaking, technically, he probably could have ran and jumped. Here's why I don't believe that took place. One, you got to get up there. And I don't think that was easy to get up there. And what I mean by that is, it's not that it wasn't easy to physically get up there. I mean, it was actually hard to get up to that area without somebody seeing you get up to that area. You know what I'm saying? The police officer went through the cameras, and he says there's not one video of him, Ray Rivera, on any of those cameras. So if he's not on any of the cameras, then he wasn't in the building. And if he's not in the building, then he's not on the roof, okay? That's my personal opinion. It doesn't make sense, right? So I don't think he jumped from, if he did jump, it wasn't from there, right? And they say, well, maybe he was pushed, right? Or he fell. It was an accident or something like that. Again, you got to put him there. Now, I don't think he was pushed. Here's why I rule out pushing as well. Because multiple people would have had to have been on the roof then. And if we can't prove that at least one guy was up there, I couldn't imagine that multiple people. And the other thing is, if there was multiple people, one person, meaning him, and Ray, and somebody else, or Ray and two other people, or three other people, or whatever it was, I don't think you would have to see them on camera either going into the hotel. I mean, what did they come from a helicopter and get placed? You know what I'm saying? Like, they would have had to have somebody would have been seen somewhere on camera doing something that was deemed weird on the camera system. And they don't have any of that. They have none of those camera systems. In fact, it looks like nobody was ever there. It looks like Ray was never even in the place, right? So I don't think he was pushed, because that would be multiple people. Then it was, well, did he fall? And it's like, well, I guess it's possible. But again, same kind of idea, got to be on the cameras, and we don't have that. And of course, the camera, like, it's unbelievable to me that, like, of course, the camera on the roof is literally not working on the night that this happens. How unbelievable is this? Like, cameras, we got to get you, like, every building should have a camera on it, especially now. It's so easy. Everyone has a Ring camera. Everyone should have Ring cameras everywhere, just so we don't have to, live in this kind of unquestioned world. This questioned world of, like, what happened? This happened. We don't know. So my point is that I don't think there was any of those three. The medical examiner who did look at Ray's body said there was numerous injuries consistent with a fall from a great height, but with anomalies noted. Now, the anomalies that were noted were kind of strange things. There was he had some stuff on his shins. They said it was more, he had stuff on his shins. He had some lacerations on his arm. Now, look, I don't know many people who have been through a building, like the top part of a roof or anything like that. I don't know anyone, obviously. But I don't know what those things would look like. But these people, the medical examiners, I would assume that they would know. I would assume that they would have a pretty good idea on what exactly, it looks like to fall from a building. I'm sure that they've done this before. I'm taking a sip of water, everyone. Remember, it's just me on this podcast kind of spitting my thoughts. So a couple of things a little bit on his background, Ray, was that, he moved to Baltimore to work. He had been there for about, 2 years or so. He was working on a screenplay. He seemed to have financial stability, so the suicide stuff here, I know a lot of people who suffer from mental illness. A few have, attempted suicide and things like that. And usually there are some things that lead up to, that type of attempt or someone trying to do that. I'm not saying that Ray did or didn't have it. I don't know him personally. I'm just looking at the facts from what I see, from what family members have said in interviews or what other people have said in interviews about him. They seem to say he was not someone who would do that. So I have to take that for what it's worth. These people know him better than anyone else. So I have to take that for what it's worth. And I can't say, well, that's not true. It's like, well, these people would know. I don't know. And they're saying that suicide was just not possible for him. So I have to take that, into consideration. So the phone call is an interesting thing, because that's the thing that kind of set us off. That's the thing that and with the phone call he received, like they said, is all based off of this colleague of Allison's who overheard it. And she said that he left in a hurry. And I also think he was in a hurry as well, because he was wearing flip-flops. He's wearing flip-flops. Flip-flops and $20 and his cell phone and his keys. And that sounds like someone who's coming back quickly. That's what it sounds like. To me, that's what it sounds like. I'm only wearing flip-flops. I'm running out of the house really fast. I'm not wearing them any other time. And that also disproves to me the theory that he ran and jumped, because he's in flip-flops. He was never running and jumping. There's a reason why NBA players don't wear flip-flops when they play basketball. It's because you don't have good footing. It's impossible to have good footing. It just is, And these were like ugly, flip-flops too. These were not, good flip-flops. These were kind of shitty flip-flops that you run when you're just kind of running an errand really fast in the summertime, but you don't want to put socks on because it's too hot and you don't want to be sweaty. Those were the type of sandals that this guy was wearing. And honestly, he's not sprinting at a high speed in those and clearing the thing because it would slow you down. You know what I mean? So it doesn't add up. Those things just don't add up to me because, if you're running in flip-flops, eventually you would just kick them off before. You kick them off before the run because you'd be able to clear. Like, you run better without sandals than you do with sandals on. So I think that dispels, to me, the theory that he was running in, especially as an athlete. If he was trying to do that, you would know that as an athlete. You'd be like, well, I'm not running in flip-flops because I'm never going to make it. I want to be able to clear it and make sure, I get what I want kind of done. So that kind of dispels that. The phone call is the thing that kind of led to the disappearance. They did trace the phone call. The phone call is traced back to Stansberry and Associates, which is where he worked, right? Which is interesting. So the question is, what phone call led him down to that area? Now, that the building that he worked in, or the business that he worked in, supposedly was in that area. So it's kind of like, is it possible that he just did that? Is it possible that he just got that phone call, something set him off, he went to the Belvedere Hotel and killed himself? Maybe. It just seems like a little bit weird to me. Some theories that were explored on this, I read everything from foul play, someone had killed him, he had financial troubles, they said he had psychological distress. Again, all his friends and family say he didn't have psychological distress, so I have to take their word for it. He had connections to the Stansberry and Associates and a recent SEC investigation into the company. I don't think that has anything to do with it. I just think, coincidentally, that was also going on. I don't necessarily think that he stumbled upon anything bigger than what was happening, and now he's in this thing, and they're going to kill him for it. You know why I don't believe any of those kind of theories? Is that people talk. That's the wild shit, is that people talk. People talk a lot of shit. And when people do things, multiple people do things, eventually, you ever notice how eventually it kind of comes out? Now, I guess it's possible that it doesn't, but in my experience, I see more and more people saying things, and if the more people that know about something, the more likely it'll come out. And I just don't think if there was an SEC investigation into the company and he found something and then he was killed, because it just sounds like a lovely story, but it's just not one that I'm buying in this kind of particular situation for some reason. It's just something that's, it's just odd. There are a few people on Reddit, I had read, they had said that, that he was running from someone. There was one person speculated that Ray had been fleeing from someone on the roof, suggesting he feared the person more and then decided to jump himself. Again, that would put two people on the roof. We got no one acting weird to that one. It's just kind of odd. Another user finds that theory highly plausible because it's pointing out the difficulties. Another user finds this theory highly plausible, pointing out the difficulties in accessing the roof and the inconsistencies with the suicide theory. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't think I fully understand the word plausibility. Another user finds this theory highly plausible, pointing out the difficulties. And I didn't realize I wrote that note. I must have copied that plausibility just to sound cool. I don't know about that theory because, again, you got to put two people on the roof then. I got to see evidence of that. I got to see something. And so far we have nothing of that. Supposedly he had a fear of heights, and the running start thing we already talked about. I don't know, man. A guy who's afraid of heights, he's going to jump off a roof? Look, man, I'm afraid of heights. I'm petrified of heights. I hate heights. All right, I go on roller coasters. I love roller coasters, but when I go up, I can't look. I close my eyes. I wait for the speed. I like the speed and the turning and stuff, but I absolutely hate going up on the roller coaster. I'm petrified. So I would never. I'm never doing this. I'm too scared. So I I understand that. So I don't think he did that. I do have a theory, which, by the way, hang on to the end, and we're gonna kind of get to it. Some people had speculated that there was like an initiation gone wrong. Several people I had read on the internet. They said, this users proposed the idea that Ray might have been involved in a dangerous initiation ritual, and either related to the Freemasons or the secretive group. Maybe, no evidence of it. It's just, again, a lovely story. I don't necessarily know it's something that's kind of hard-nosed kind of facts. he might have, done that. Some people say he could have been coerced into jumping, believing that he would land in a pool or another safe area. Again, man, that's for a dude that's afraid of heights. You can't. You're gonna talk. Hey, man, just jump off this roof. You're gonna jump into that pool. I'd be like, yeah. What if I gotta go through I still gotta hit the water. I don't wanna fucking do that. So, this is the other thing that's very interesting. Which I think is kind of the it kind of comes in towards the end of the episode. They speak about his friend Porter Stansberry. Now, Porter Stansberry, very wealthy guy, seems to run this company, Stansberry and Associates, seems to have a lot of money, and he only puts up $1,000. Anyone else find that interesting? That a guy of such, has so much money, or at least lead you to believe that he has a lot of money based off of the company and stuff. I did a little research on the company. It looked like it's doing pretty well in 2005 and 2006, so I would assume he has a lot of money. $1,000. Look, man, $1,000. I make $25 a night doing stand-up. That's the way stand-up comedy works. You don't make a lot of money doing it in the beginning. You're either making $25 a night or you're Kevin Hart. Those are the two. I make $25 a night. If one of my friends went missing and I put up $1,000, that's a lot of money coming from me. From me, that's a lot of money. But when you are worth the amount of money that his friend Porter was apparently worth at the time, $1,000 isn't really a lot of money. It's kind of, $10,000 or $25,000 would have been a lot of money. It almost, my opinion is it looks like you put up $1,000 so that people wouldn't think you were involved in any way, and I'm not saying that he is. I don't want to get sued. I'm not saying he's involved. It's just odd. It's just weird to me that you would only put up $1,000. It's supposed to be one of your best friends. If one of my best friends went missing, and like I said, I put up $1,000, that's a lot of money. But for a guy like that, 10 grand, 15 grand, 20, what's $25,000 to a guy like that? $25, $250 to him. So it's like, well, why wouldn't you, do that? If you really wanted to find out more information, wouldn't you? I don't know. I would go above and beyond for one of my closest friends. He seemed to not do that. $1,000, maybe that's a lot of money to him. I'm not sure. It's not a lot of money to me, and even in 2005, 2006, it's not a lot of money. Like a lot of money to me. So it's kind of like, okay, man, that was the first thing that I noticed about that. A lot of people discuss, that guy. They discuss, because especially towards the end of the episode, it really gets into kind of the SEC investigation, and then it gets into how they were really good friends and how they moved out there for him, and he was writing this thing, and I'll be honest, it doesn't really give him a fair shake because he's not there to defend himself. I do think it's weird that, he was supposedly, they do say it, he was the person that got the media attention to get in there and get people, involved. But again, the $1,000 thing seems strange to me. The fact that he wouldn't talk to, he runs a media company. I guess that's part of what he does is the Stansberry Associates is part of, putting out media stuff on, stock picks and things like that. And he basically had everyone. Now they say in the episode, now I know this could be information for some of you. I had to look it up. I found it. They say that he put a gag order on everyone in the company, which is not necessarily true. What he did was basically told everyone who worked for the company that if anyone calls and asks about the case, to refer to the spokesperson that they have set up for this, which to me is a little bit of like a weird thing to do. Because if you're really trying to find someone, I mean, why are you just telling everyone to go to the spokesperson? If he did commit suicide, maybe someone who knew him in the company could give you more information to maybe lead us to what maybe he was thinking the day of or the week of. You know what I'm saying? I think it's weird to have, just tell everyone to go to the spokesperson. I think he was saving his ass a little bit. Now, who knows? Maybe he has motivations for that. I'm not sure. I do know he turned down requests to be in the Unsolved Mystery episode, and then he decided to give an interview in the Baltimore Sun, which I did read very briefly before I came onto this podcast. He gave an interview in the Baltimore Sun, and it's strange that he gave only an interview in the Baltimore Sun. Now, I'll give you my theory on that. I think he gave the interview only to the Baltimore Sun because he lives in Baltimore, and I think he wants the hometown people not to think that he's a giant piece of shit in any way. And that's okay. I'm not judging him for that. You live in that area. Of course you want that. He doesn't seem to care about what other people think. I did see an interview with him on YouTube where he said that I don't care about what anyone thinks at all. And, as long as I have the respect for my wife and my kids and my immediate family, I don't give a shit what anyone else thinks. And it's like, well, you gave a shit enough to give that interview about how you don't give a shit. So obviously you give a little bit of a shit. That's what I would say to that. You give everyone. Also, don't say you don't. No one should ever say that. I don't give a shit what anyone thinks. You do a little bit. Everyone does a little bit. So let's not act like you're above that, okay? Because everyone's, definitely sensitive to it in some ways. I think giving an interview just to the Baltimore Sun, I think that's very intentional. Do I think he's involved in any way? No. I don't necessarily think he killed Ray. But I do think it's strange to do that to your friend. Maybe you guys weren't as close. Maybe they're not as close. I'm not sure. Maybe they weren't as close as what the show kind of made it out to be. I have friends that I've known since I was 15 that were not necessarily best friends, but we've known each other since we were 15, and we may have been out of work together. Like, you know what I mean? So, like, maybe it's just not that serious for him, and maybe he, just didn't look at it that way, the same way. I'm not sure. Me personally, if you are his best friend, I do think it's odd, but, that all those things kind of did. That's my personal opinion on him. I don't think he's involved in any way. Like I said, I don't think he killed anyone. But I think those things are strange, and those are the reasons why people are constantly asking about him as a person of interest. He did, in 2006, Porter did give a statement to the police, so he did go. So in 2006, I'm not sure of the date exactly. I did write it down on my phone. That's how I kind of referenced it. But he did give a date. So I don't know. He did give a statement. So maybe he feels that that's all he has to do. I do think it's weird, though, if you really break down, if you read the Baltimore Sun interview that he gave, and I hope that is the correct paper. I'm pretty sure it is. The Baltimore Sun interview that he gave, he says, I don't think that there's any mystery about it. I think he committed suicide. And my question to that would be, if that's what you think, why did you put up the $1,000 reward? So you put up the $1,000 reward before the body was found. Then the body was found. You're like, oh, it must be suicide. That's what I would ask. That's the only question I would ask. I just think it's weird. You put up $1,000 because, for whatever reason, and then now you say, well, he committed suicide. There's nothing to talk about. It's like, okay, why'd you put up the $1,000 though? That's what I would ask. But hey, man, I don't know. He could do whatever he wants. That's kind of a thing. There's a lot of unresolved questions with this case. People are upset, with the investigation, particularly the lack of questioning through, kind of potential witnesses and quick dismissal of a non-suicide theories. I do think that police, although most are good, a lot of them just kind of go with the first gut instinct and they kind of stick to that. Police have been wrong. If we learn anything from any of these kind of true crime documentaries, police can be wrong. They're wrong a lot. So I'm always someone who looks at all possible theories and possible ways, and then I kind of logically try to put it out, The case is still, I'll get to this. I want to give you guys my theory, Bryan's theory on what happened. Ba-dum-bum-bum. Are we ready? This is what I think happened. I think he didn't commit suicide. I'm not someone who believes that he committed suicide. I'm not sure that it was murder. It's obviously possible, but I don't think so. I think this is going to sound crazy. I think it was an accident. I think it was somehow an accident. I read a theory on Reddit and a couple things as well that really kind of made me think about this. There is a piece missing off the top of the building. Look at that building when you rewatch the episode. When they show those aerial shots, look at the side. The railing, not the railing, like not the top, but like the railing that's in the middle, kind of thing. The ledge, like that ledge. There's a piece that looks like it's missing. Okay, on the left side. Okay, I think that piece could have possibly fallen and hit him. Now, I know that sounds nuts, because you would have to literally be in the worst possible spot in the world for that to fall and hit you and for you to go through. But I do think that is something that needs to be considered. And the reason being is because we have no evidence of him being on the roof. We have absolutely no evidence of him in the building at all. We have no evidence of him on top of the roof. His cell phone is intact. His glasses are intact. When they found the body, they said it looked like plaster had fallen, like boom, like it looked like. Now, obviously, that would happen if you came through a roof, right? But wouldn't it also happen if a giant piece of concrete hit you in the head as well and crushed you through? Now, you may be asking, well, what was he doing on the top part of that roof? That I don't know. I have no idea, but he did park his car in the parking lot next to it. So I'm not exactly sure what put him in that spot. I have absolutely no idea, right? But I think if he's holding his glasses, holding his cell phone, and he's on top of that roof for whatever reason, and all of a sudden that thing falls and hits him and he goes through, I think those glasses and cell phone could have fallen out of his hand. He could have thrown him at that point. Maybe he was trying to run at that point when something fell and it hit him. I think that, because they say that the injuries are closer to a car wreck than they were going falling and committing suicide. It's almost like he was beaten up. Now, what would look like you got beaten up? Well, maybe not a car wreck, but maybe something heavy hit you. I think it's something to be considered. I have no idea. That is my theory, my take on it. I'm not actually sure, obviously, because I wasn't there. I do have nothing but empathy for the family. It's hard to rewatch that episode, just because you feel for those people. You really do. Yeah, and I think that's my personal theory on it. I don't know if anyone would even remotely entertain that theory with me, because they've never actually said if anything had fallen off the roof. It is an old building, though, so that's why I'm like, maybe something could have fell. And I read that on Reddit and thought to myself, oh shit, maybe it did fall and it hit him, which is absolutely as viable as him being on the roof and jumping off and running in fucking flip-flops. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, that's what I think. I think that is absolutely a possibility. And again, man, I really hope that they eventually solve a case like this, just because it is something that you kind of rack your head around, and be, how do I get through that? Like, what did he do? Why was he there? I don't know what he'd be doing on that white part of the building. No idea. Couldn't tell you. Maybe he wanted to take a look at something. I don't know. I have no idea. I'm not sure, but I think maybe something could have fell on him. That's just my theory. You guys tell me what you guys think when you listen to the episode. As you know, this case still remains open. It's unsolved. The interest, obviously, in the episode is obviously huge, because a lot of people said, that they believe it was Porter. Some people, believe the Porter was involved. They think he might have jumped. Some people say it's suicide. Who knows, man? I mean, that's the interesting thing about this, is that it kind of keeps us talking. I hope you guys enjoyed this. That's my take on it. I hope we can do more of these, and we can have a little fun, and we can talk theories and things like that, because I do enjoy it. So I really thank you guys for listening to this episode of the Unsolved Mysteries Rewatch podcast with your host, Bryan McKenna, and I, as always, am Bryan McKenna. Take care. And I'll see you guys for the new season 4, in July.